Noah, brethren, was standing against the wisdom of thousands in those times. There were giants in the earth in those days, mighty men of old, men of renown, men of influence. And also, they were of great intellect. But because they yielded to the control of fallen angels, they devoted all their skill and knowledge to the exaltation of themselves. Men whose wonderful works of art lead the world to idolize their genius. Now this is nothing ordinary in our time also. Same. Okay? But the cruelty and evil inventions defiling the earth and defacing the image of God. So the purpose of all this, these are behind all these sins, play and counterplay, is a one great agency, and that is Satan. He wants to erase the image of God from the earth. He wants to deface the image of God in you. And in our minds, they will tell you that, one of them is the theory of evolution. That is the way of effacing the image of God from us. Who else? We have Job. You know the story of Job. A book in the Bible is dedicated to that. Now, in the very early history of the world is given the life record of one whom this controversy of Satan was waged. So Satan was focusing his war on Job. As he was focusing his war on the generation of Noah. But Noah overcomes the world. And now he comes with Job. He was the patriarch of Uz. The testimony of the searcher of heart was, there was none like him in the earth. A perfect and an upright man, the one that fears God and escheweth evil. This is Job. That's why Satan hates him. I remember, brethren, in the Bible that they that live a godly in Christ Jesus will suffer persecution. No wonder that the more you come to Jesus and want to reform your life, the more obstacles you will encounter. Because Satan doesn't want you to change. Many discouragements. When you come to Jesus, there are many things that Satan puts in front of us so that you will not be successful in your attempt. Okay? And that's what the testimony against Job is, that he was a perfect and upright man, and Satan does not like him. Now, if you want to be a friend of Satan, you have to turn the other way, and you become friend of Satan, and Satan will not bother you at all. But if we come to the other side, then we incur the wrath of Satan, the wrath of the dragon. And against this man, Satan brought a scornful charge. Though Job feared God for naught, hast thou not made an hedge about him, about his house, and about all that he had on every side? You know, Job is worshiping you, he's loyal to you because you have protected him. You have given him wealth. You give him honor. That's why, of course, he will worship you. But put forth thine hand now and touch all that he had. Touch his bones and his flesh, and he will curse thee to the face. Yeah, you take everything from him, and you will see. And obtaining permission from God, Satan swept away all that possession of Job, flocks and herds, manservants and maidens, sons and daughters. He smote Job with the sore boils from the sole of his foot unto the crown of his head. So terrible. His properties were banished away. And also, not only that, his what? His children was taken from him. If that happens to you, what is your reaction? And also, not only that, God allowed Satan to inflict Job with sore boils from the head to the toe. But all of that, brethren, Job was not unfaithful. But the worst thing is, another element of bitterness that added to his cup, his friends, seeing his adversary, but the retribution of sin pressed on his bruised and burdened spirit, their accusation of wrongdoing. His friends came to Job and instead of having comfort or bringing comfort, said to Job, that happens to you because of your sin, something that God is really wants you to confess. You have some hidden sin, Job. That's why God punished you like that. If that happens to me, brethren, if somebody will do that to me, I don't know. But when you look at our human nature, it's simply that for me, it's hard to stand against that comments or trials. But if other people will hurt you, will speak against you, or unbelievers will speak against you, it's nothing though. But if some from our church or from our relations close to us, if from believers, it's like they're throwing bread to us. But if it is from our close friends, from our close relations, it is like they are throwing stones to us. I remember visiting a friend, an old friend that has, her T4 and T5 at the back of the spine were taken away by the doctor. So half is paralyzed, but half can move. And also I was able to visit another friend, the neighbor, and he has his mother blind, and old now, about 60. But that's long friends. He said, my mother is blind, so I have to attend him. But I was amazed because my mom will not, every Wednesday, every Friday and Saturday, he will always go to the church. They don't have car. They only rely on transportations. You have to pay. But Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, never absent in the church. Blind woman. So what about here? Job said, 13 verse 15, though he slay me, yet will I trust in him, but I will maintain mine own ways before him. So Job resolved, even though God will slay me, will take my life, I will trust in him. And I will maintain mine own ways before him. What a promise. So Job continued, he knoweth the way that I take. When he had tried me, I shall come forth as gold. Job overcome the devil. What about Daniel? Daniel's story is also good for adults to read, not only for bedtime stories. Okay? And there are many good people that were carried from Judea to Babylon. They were Christian patriots. Their principles were strong. They cannot be corrupted by selfishness. And God honors them. And also, in prosperity and adversity, they honor God. And God honored them. So you see, what we do to the Lord will return to us. And Daniel chapter 1 verse 8, they resolved, Daniel, it is written that he should not defile himself. And there were several reasons for that. Why Daniel and his companions refused the food that the king set before them. A portion of the animals eaten was first offered as a sacrifice to pagan gods, and that is idolatry. So they will not partake of that. Second, the use of luxurious and unhealthful food and drink was contrary to strict principles of temperance. They knew that. And also, Daniel and his friends there was the added desire to avoid a flesh food diet. So there are many reasons, and combining the three, Daniel and his friends resolved to what? We will not partake of the food that the king prepared for us. Okay. Now, when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, there's another situation. This is about worshiping other gods or praying to other gods except the king. So it was put on writing, it was signed by the king. Now when Daniel knew about the writing, he went to his house. What he's doing in his house, what he's going to do in his house, pretend that he is faithful to the Lord? No, he went to his house, and his windows being open to his chamber towards Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God as he did before. So there was no pretension. He knew that whatever happens, he is safe in the hands of God. So he did not pretend. He opened his windows. You know, sometimes we have stories about the disciples after the crucifixions. The disciples gathered at the upper room. They closed the doors and the windows. Why? For fear of the Jews. But Daniel is not afraid about his condition. He went inside and prayed to the Lord against the decree. Nothing is gained by cowardice or by fearing to let it be known that we are God's commandment-keeping people. Hiding our light as if ashamed of our faith will result only in disaster. God will leave us to our own weakness, and may the Lord forbid that we should refuse to let our light shine forth in any place to which He may call us. Now, I know, brethren, that our situations has been, individual situation has been like trying. When I was in school, when they invited me to eat, they were surprised I am not eating the food that they are eating. That they know that I was eating before. But what can we do, brethren? What can we gain from hiding our light? From cowardice? Nothing is gained by cowardice or by fearing to let it known that we are God's commandment-keeping people. So, that is disaster. My angel has sent his angel. My God has sent his angel. That's what the testimony of Daniel, and had shut the lion's mouth, that they have not hurt me. For as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt. So here, the testimony of this faithful man, true to the Lord, true to his God, has been spared from the lions. What is our refuge in our day? So Noah overcomes the world, Job overcomes the devil, and Daniel overcomes the flesh. And we have 3 enemies to overcome: the world, the devil, and the flesh. And we have the examples of these 3 men before us on how to overcome them. And what is the refuge, our refuge in our day? If such sins as these are to come, such tremendous judgments on a guilty world, when the judgment of God will fall upon this earth, where will be the refuge of God's people? How will they be sheltered until the indignation be overpassed? And John sees these elements of nature: earthquake, tempest, and political strife. I think yesterday or today, there was an earthquake in California. And you can hear that everywhere. There are many tremors and many earthquakes in different places. Tempests, hurricanes, cyclones, tornadoes, political strife, war in the Middle East, represented as they are being held by the four angels. These winds are under control until God gives the word to let them go. Now, if these winds of destructions are being loose, where is our refuge in that day? Where is our refuge in that day? Of course, brethren, money cannot save us. Fame cannot save us. Even our friends cannot save us, because our refuge is in Christ. So our refuge in that time is Jesus Christ. He is the rock of our salvation and a strong tower. And those that overcome the world, the flesh, and the devil will be the favored ones who shall receive the seal of the living God, the seal of God's protection. And those whose hands are not clean, whose hearts are not pure, will not have the seal of the living God. And those who are planning sin and acting upon it will pass by. Only those who, in their attitude before God, are filling the position of those who are repenting and confessing their sins in the great antitypical day of atonement will be recognized and marked as worthy of God's protection. So where is our refuge at that time? Only by receiving the seal of God's protection. There is no other way that we can be protected in those times, but only receiving the seal of the living God in our foreheads and in our hands. So human protections will be cut loose from us. Human laws of protection will be severed from us. The only refuge that we can have in those days is Jesus Christ, and that's by overcoming the world, the flesh, and the devil, we will receive the seal of God's protection. Now, brethren, my prayer to all of us here this morning, that God will give us the victory over world, the flesh, and the devil. And let us pray for one another, and let us also help one another to do the same. May the Lord bless us and keep us. Amen. So closing our service by singing 445 Reformation hymnal, 445.